Her smile, it was the first thing I fell in love with. It was this radiant, innocent beam of light that could make the worst day feel like a gift. For 10 years, that smile was my sunrise and my sunset. But I learned a harsh lesson. Some of the most beautiful things can hide the ugliest truths. Every word she spoke, every sweet nothing she whispered, was a thread in a tapestry of lies so intricate, so vast, it took me a decade to see it. It all started subtly. A late night at the office here, a last-minute trip with the girls there. I never questioned it. Why would I? This was Sarah, my Sarah, the woman who held my hand through my father's illness, the woman who celebrated my every small victory as if it were a lottery win. Trust wasn't just a word in our marriage, it was the foundation, or so I thought. The first crack appeared on our anniversary. I'd planned a surprise trip to the little coastal town where I proposed. I'd booked the same inn, even requested the same room. I was buzzing with excitement all week. The day before we were supposed to leave, she came home looking distraught. Her best friend, Amy, was supposedly having a major crisis and needed her. She was so convincing, her eyes filled with genuine-looking concern. "I'm so sorry, honey. You know I wouldn't miss this for the world, but Amy, she has no one else." I was disappointed, of course, but I understood. I told her to go, to be a good friend. I hugged her, told her I loved her, and watched her drive off, her face a perfect mask of worried sympathy. That night, I was scrolling through social media, just killing time, when a picture popped up. It was from a mutual acquaintance, posted just an hour earlier. It was a group photo at a popular downtown bar, and right there, in the middle of the laughing crowd, was Sarah. Her arm was slung around a man I didn't recognize, and she was wearing that smile. My smile, but it wasn't for me. There was no Amy in sight. My heart didn't just sink, it plummeted. I stared at the photo, my mind refusing to process what my eyes were seeing. It had to be a mistake. An old photo, maybe. But the caption read, "Friday Night Vibes." With today's date, I zoomed in. The man had his hand on the small of her back. Her head was tilted towards him, her expression unguarded and joyful in a way I hadn't seen in months. The world tilted on its axis. Every late night at work, every emergency phone call, every canceled plan flashed through my mind. Recontextualized, they weren't just isolated incidents. They were data points on a graph of betrayal. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the couch, the glowing screen of my phone illuminating the darkness, that single photo burning into my retinas. When she came home the next morning, she looked tired, but played her part perfectly. "Oh, what a night," she sighed, slumping into my arms. "Amy is a mess, but I think she's going to be okay." I could smell the faint scent of a cologne that wasn't mine, and in that moment, something inside me broke. I didn't confront her right away. I needed proof, undeniable proof. Not for her, but for me. I needed to know I wasn't going crazy. Over the next few weeks, I became a detective in my own life. It was a sickening, soul-crushing endeavor. I noticed the second phone, the one she kept hidden in her car. I saw the credit card statements for hotels in our own city, for dinners I wasn't invited to. Each discovery was a fresh stab to the heart. The woman I shared a bed with, the woman I thought I knew better than myself, was a complete stranger. The lies were everywhere, woven into the very fabric of our daily lives. "I'm going to a yoga class," she'd say, kissing me goodbye. But the gym confirmed she hadn't swiped her card in months. "My mom needs help with her garden" was an excuse to spend a sunny Saturday with him. I once called her mom to ask about the new flowers, and she had no idea what I was talking about. The casual, effortless way she lied was the most terrifying part. It was a skill she had perfected. The final confrontation was quieter than you'd imagine. There was no shouting, no throwing things. I had printed everything out, the photos, the bank statements, the phone records. I laid them out on the dining room table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals, celebrated birthdays, and planned our future. When she came home, she saw the papers, and her face went pale. That innocent smile vanished, replaced by a cold, hard mask I'd never seen before. She didn't even try to deny it. She looked at the evidence, then looked at me, and said, "So, just like that, 10 years of marriage, a shared life, a universe of memories, all dismissed with 3 little words." There were no tears, no apologies, just a chilling emptiness in her eyes. She told me she hadn't been happy for years, that she felt trapped. She said she didn't want to hurt me, but she didn't know how to leave. So instead, she chose to live a double life, to let me live in a fantasy world she had constructed. The most painful part was her complete lack of remorse. She spoke of her affair as if it were a necessary escape, a side project she had to take on to survive our marriage. She never once acknowledged the depth of her betrayal, the profound violation of trust. She saw my pain not as a consequence of her actions, but as an inconvenience to her new life. Her smile had been a weapon, a tool of deception to keep me placid and unsuspecting while she built a new world without me. Walking away from that marriage was the hardest and best thing I've ever done. The healing process has been long and brutal. There are days when the ghost of her smile haunts me, when I question my own judgment, my ability to trust anyone ever again. But I'm learning to rebuild. I'm learning that her lies were a reflection of her own brokenness, not a measure of my worth. Her story is a painful reminder that what you see on the surface isn't always the truth. The most innocent-looking faces can hide the most calculated deception. But it's also a story of survival. It's about finding the strength to walk away from a beautifully constructed lie and stepping into the raw, honest, and sometimes difficult truth of your own life. It's about learning to find your own sunrise again, one that isn't dependent on someone else's deceptive light. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, know that you are not alone and that healing is possible. Please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content. Your support means the world.